All right, Tanya's getting the garage all organized. Got the couches up there, got 2 fridges, which we don't need, but we keep getting more every time we move. And we are going to work on this speed sensor. All right, so here's what came in the kit. This is the speed sensor itself, nothing special. This is the bracket specifically for putting this on an 8.8 with the strange yoke. Now this whole kit actually came with the yoke itself, but you can buy them separate. You can buy the yoke by itself, or you can buy this setup by itself. This is the actual collar, or the reluctor wheel. So we're gonna be mounting this sensor basically so where it's really close, and so each time one of those high spots, it picks up a signal. And then we'll tell the computer, all right, there's this many pickups in a rotation, and then we'll tell it, you know, gearing, tire size, and it'll calculate speed for us. They provide you with a couple of different resistors to use it for, you know, 12 or 16 volt or whatever you got going on. And it didn't come with hardware, but I mean, it's just a bolt nut long enough to get through this this hole on the bracket, as well as the piece on the rear end. So we'll get the collar on there first to make sure that's seated properly, and then we'll get the bracket on there, see how close the sensor needs to be. Just a couple of feeler gauges is really all I need to get that where it needs to be. And then we'll figure out how much wire we need to get it to the ECU. Okay, so we got the sensor mounted up as you saw, and ran the wires into the car and wired that. I didn't show the wiring because you guys don't want to see my wiring. It's just power, ground, signal. Both the power and the ground are 5-volt sensor power and sensor ground. Just make sure that you do that whatever ECU you're using. Don't just use a regular chassis ground or something like that. Use the sensor ground. Use the sensor 5-volt out. Okay, and then when you are ready, come in here and you make custom input. So I just labeled mine rear speed. You can label it drive shaft speed, whatever you want. Select for this sensor type, select digital speed frequency, go to configure. Motion Raceworks has an instruction manual for their sensor, and it shows the actual hauling instructions. So you put in your rear gear and you put in your tire size, and it should spit out the appropriate speed. We're gonna give that a try right now. The only thing that could go wrong with it is that I didn't put the resistor between the 2 wires that they recommend. If you look at the Motion Raceworks videos, it does say some of the old Hollies didn't used to need them. They must have changed something in their firmware and in their internal, I guess, on the board itself on the newer versions, and so the newer ones require a resistor. Mine's pretty old. It's like probably 4 years old, so I'm hoping I don't even need it, because I'd like to use that resistor for the sensor that I want to use for the front wheel speed, which I will need it for sure. So we'll see, we'll try it out. If I don't get a signal at all, then obviously I need it. It's really easy just to pop in there. So fun fact, even the old Hollies do require the resistor in there. I tried starting it up initially, and it just kept going back and forth between like 0, 1, and 2 mile an hour, just kind of like hanging out in there. I knew the wheels are going faster than that, so I figured there was something wrong. So if you get that behavior, either your resistor isn't wired right, or you don't have one and you need to put one in there. Some of the sensors, if you get the non-Motion Raceworks, because you can get these sensors anywhere, it's just a basic Hall effect sensor. Some of them have the internal pull-up resistor, so you don't need one external. But this one did, and as soon as I put it in there, as you saw, it showed like 13 mile an hour. I put it in 3rd gear, and this was just idle, so the wheels are only gonna go so fast. Showed 16 mile an hour, and really steady too. I'm excited to see how smooth the data is, but if it's smooth down here, I'm wondering if it's gonna be crappy up top when it's a higher, speed. I'm wondering if it's gonna skip a couple of steps or something like that. I'm really curious to see how clean the data is. Because it's nice having a bunch of points so that you can get good resolution down low, but is it gonna sacrifice resolution, or is it gonna sacrifice signal quality up top? When everything is going so fast, the drive shaft is spinning a hell of a lot faster, is it gonna start skipping some data points and giving me these weird little, spikes? We'll see. I'm gonna drive it around and see how clean the data is. Maybe do a pull or two to give it some higher speed and hopefully it's real good. Next will be to get the front wheel speed sensors in there so that I can start comparing the data. Right now, rear wheel speed is fine. It's nice to have that data to see, a good thing that I can see from that is if the transmission is slipping, how much converge slip we have. I can actually plot, RPM and rear wheel speed and see how different the trends are between the two, and that'll determine how much slip I've got. But the biggest thing that I want is a slip ratio between rear wheels and front wheels. I want to base power control changes like timing and boost off of the difference between front and rear wheel speed. So that's going to take a little bit. There's no custom, there's no kit for it, unfortunately, for front knuckle on a D21. So we got to make a little custom bracket, and I did buy two different sensors. One is like the sensor that I have right here that just has pickups off of just a metal wheel. Any ferrous metal will give you a signal. The other one will pick up magnets, so you actually have to have magnetic pickups. I'm hoping that I can get just the regular one to work, so I can just have maybe the back of the heads of the bolts, but the way the bolts are shaped, I don't think we're going to be able to make it work, but we'll dig into that here in a second. All right, so I guess I should have known this at the time, but there was some street shenanigans going on that night, little mini pot race. And, I needed to go out and test the speed sensor, so I figured why not participate? I get my testing in and at the same time get a chance to win a little bit of money.
Here we go, boy. Final pair in the first round. Nissan hard body wins. Left lane. Test pass. Good driving. Right lane, truck takes it.
So a little two birds with one stone. We got the data that we needed by doing some testing, and at the same time we came back with a little bit of money. Helped out a ton because we're actually going to be buying our new project car here pretty soon, and that pretty much paid for it. So what turned out to be just a night of testing paid for the new project car that we're getting. On to the next topic, which is the Civic and this new project. So a lot of people were asking, why aren't you finishing the Civic, or what's going on with the Civic? We are, so we had to put it on hold while we were moving, but now it's going to be a kind of on the back burner. We're still going to finish it. We're not abandoning it. We are absolutely doing it, but it is going to take us a really long time to do because we want to do it here in our own place by ourselves, and we have a lot of stuff that we need to get for this shop to be able to do a project that in depth. So it is going to be a long-term project. We will keep doing updates on it here and there, but we got a lot of stuff to get. I got to get a welder. We should probably get a lift. Got to get a bunch of stupid small tools as well, because we want to make sure that we do it right. We're going to redo some of the stuff that we already went through, so you'll get a new look at, I guess, a different method of doing it, because we're going to change a couple of things around with the way that we did the front cradle and whatnot. But yeah, so rest assured, we are going to still do that build, but we are getting a new one. And it's specifically meant to be as much fun as possible, kind of like the truck, but even more, because this one should let us do true street classes. The suspension type is going to allow us to stick with the type of suspension that we know how to make work, a version of a 4-link. It's a really popular car, so it's going to allow us to have tons of aftermarket support for it. You need a cage. Somebody sells a pre-bent one for super cheap. You need front suspension. Somebody's got a kit to swap out, for coilovers or different lighter, control arms, all sorts of stuff. So, but we wanted to make sure that we could build something really quick with what we have here. that can get Tanya racing really fast. So that's the goal for this one, is to be together and racing as soon as possible. So we'll still have a build. We'll do videos on everything that we're doing, but it's gonna go together really quick because we have pretty much everything that we were going to put in the Civic. We can use the majority of that in this car. So we're probably gonna do it in a couple of different stages, you know, using the stock rear end, seeing how long until it breaks, how much power can we put into it, and then moving on to stuff that, you know, we wanna use to actually be competitive. So that's the plan. Next video, we will show you guys the new car and start working on it. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Tell me that you hate me for putting the Civic off even more. I know, I'm sorry. Don't worry, you're gonna like this build, I assure you. It's gonna be fun. And it gets Tanya driving again. She needs to go out racing. So yeah, anyway, we'll see you on the next one.